BTC trading at 94K. The market is under pressure once again after that Bybit hack that we had on Friday. So things got really messy. Now we've seen that some whales are selling tons of some of the big tokens out there. And is this a warning sign? Is there more to come? So we're looking at the pressure situation on the big tokens. Then we're touching on some AI narratives. We got NVIDIA this week. So lots to talk about there and a couple of alt setups. Let's see if we are going to get some kind of relief bounce, guys. So we got so much to talk about here. Let's get right into it. And remember, guys, as always, hit the like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe. Now, you would have noticed last week I missed 2 shows on Banter Plus. I was on Crypto Live and I was on the main channel. So you're probably going to find me here Monday to Friday now this week. This will be my home. Hopefully, I won't be leaving you guys. And remember, James is in the house. He's got a couple of fundamental things floating around. We're talking about the war situation. We're talking about 1 or 2 other things going on out there, preparing for war. Okay, well, there you go. That man is ready, just like the Germans, it seems. They want to carry on fighting. Banter Bubbles, absolute mess. Radium getting absolutely rinsed here. And we saw there was a comment on pump.fun looking to launch their own market makers or something along those lines. So Radium's taken the brunt of that blow. Then you can see 𝗧𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, which was a narrative last week, and 𝗬𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 on the left. They're actually holding up okay. But I'd say all round again, squeaky bum time, shit's falling over. The guys are under pressure. The degens are under pressure. So we're going to tackle these things because I did notice there are a couple of altcoins sitting on a few levels now. We're seeing 15-minute and potentially 1-hour reversals, but is that enough to give us some kind of bounce? Because Bitcoin is under serious pressure here. So let's jump into BTC and see what these guys are doing to us at the moment and what they have in store for us later. So we've had I'd say it's a messy day in terms of what's been going down. So we noticed a little bit of chop earlier this morning, and there was a big liquidity box sitting in that type of region, which I dropped into Chart Hackers. And I was following the liquidity box based on the liquidation heat map. So I like to track what is going down here with the liquidation heat map and try and tie it into the charts and some of the levels that I have. So just refreshing this now, you can see we now have fresh liquidity from 93,800 down to 93,100. So we can go back to our chart now quickly and we can take a look, 93.8 to 93,100. So let's just drop a box there quickly, and that is going to be there, 93.8 to 93,100. So that is going to be our new liquidity zone there to the downside. So we've had a nice little dip. They took out that liquidity. If there is going to be more downside, they know now, the market makers know there's tons of action in that type of box there. So 93,800 to 93,100, that is going to be a danger zone now to the downside if they are going to send us a little bit lower. But in terms of targets hit, we were looking at this 93,600 earlier today, and we've just front run that one slightly now. So that is going to be our interim support that we're using now. And we've seen the S&P is bouncing, the NASDAQ is bouncing. So hopefully that is going to now continue to the upside for us. Now, in terms of what to expect from BTC, you can see we've had a little bounce here, but we can keep it super simple. We can bang out a trend and we can look at this thing and say, okay, if we do get a push here, where's our no euphoria zone? Where do we need to be careful? And the most obvious region for me now is going to be this 95, just above 95,000. So call it 95,300 to around about 96K is going to be your danger zone. So if we do get a push up now in the next couple of hours, look for a rejection in that type of region. You're most likely going to get some action there if we do get a push into that zone. So let's not get too excited until we are well clear of that level, and let's make sure we start finding support above 95,600. Once we've got that, we can say we can get short-term a little bit more excited, because once we break a trend like that on BTC, you'll probably see dominance start dropping a little bit, and then some of the alts starting to fire. So guys, I hope everybody is surviving out there. It's been another rough one, and we had Trump wreck so many weekends. How many weekends did Trump wreck in a row, James? I think it was 2 or 3 that he took us out in a row on a Friday, and then things were looking okay towards the end of last week, and Bybit came with that massive hack. So big drama out there. And Nelson says, Dylan said we should be here. Correct, sir. This is the day you need to be here. These are the most important days. I'm glad you guys are paying some attention here with what is going on. Okay, guys, those are your levels for BTC. Let's not get too euphoric above this 95,600. If we do push higher, I just want to highlight for you guys the VWAP this thing has been obviously very important to us on any moves to the upside. So call it 96,490. That's going to be another region that you guys want to watch. Remember, these charts go straight into Chart Hackers after the show as well, so you can take a look at them over there. Now, let's get into a couple of things. And this thing really caught my attention today, considering what was going on with the market. But this is an old tweet, it seems, from someone called Nick Allen in 2011. He says, Bitcoin down to $2.7 a pop. So glad I didn't buy into that mess. I mean, imagine the feeling now. Imagine what that feels like if you had them at $2.70. I mean, I don't know. I probably would have sold. In 2011, would you have held?
Well, that's it. Everybody's like, oh, if I just knew about Bitcoin at $1 or $5 or $100. Well, as soon as you got, 2x, 3x, you think you're a hero and you would have sold. Nobody's holding until then, unless they lost their keys.
In 2013, you would have gone like, oh, the stupid internet money gave me 5x. I'm out of this. I mean, sure. It would have been interesting to hold. Okay, so I wonder if he's still alive. I wonder if the man's got some BTC. It's an interesting one. And then I've got something else for us here. And obviously, we're in one of those situations where if you were the altcoins, the dip keeps on dipping. But look at this girl staring at the dip. Look at this. Out of cash. Look at this. This is the best. There's the dip. There she comes. It's got to be the biggest pain. I mean, this market though, we were just saying offline, guys, it's rough. Okay, and that dip really does keep on dipping, and we just got to make sure we are saving some dry powder for when the momentum changes. So all I can say is to the degens out there and the leverage traders out there, just slow it down. When the time is right, we will ramp it up again, but save your money. You're going to need it when things are turning bullish again. I mean, it's like don't give up here when they're trying to kick you out. This is where you guys need to be learning. This is where you want to learn your new skills and those types of things. So guys, all I can say is hang in there. Okay, it's coming. Just be patient and make sure you have dry powder. Now, the whole world is waiting for NVIDIA this week. This is coming on Wednesday for us. And we've seen this again. It's the entire US economy basically resting on NVIDIA. And I would say a lot of the AI tokens in crypto as well. So we're going to look at some of those AIs today as well. And let's just take a look at what is going on at the moment. So between the S&P and between NVIDIA, there's obviously a little bit of pressure. So here's NVIDIA at the moment. You can see there was a sell-off today, and we've got earnings coming on Wednesday. So anyone interested in trading some NVIDIA, what I would love to see is a dump into the earnings. So it depends what they can give us. It depends where they're going to take us over the next couple of days. But I think ideally, if you're looking for a cool play, you look for a dump into earnings or you look for a pump into earnings. That's either going to give you a short or it's going to give you some kind of long when the earnings do come out. So in terms of NVIDIA, we're going to track this today. We were watching it. We're going to track it tomorrow as well and try be prepped for Wednesday. But in terms of support, I would say watch that 200-day MA 126 and then watching 116. That's going to be our support levels. Let's see if they bleed us down into these areas leading into earnings. It could be an interesting long play. And what I want to say here, guys, is if we pump into earnings, just exercise cautions. We've seen time and time again where the market falls over or the token or the shitcoin or the stock falls over once the earnings get announced. Okay, so just be careful there. Then in terms of the S&P, now it was a little bit red, and I was wondering, there's a few things going on in the markets at the moment, but we had Ursula. Okay, the Germans got a new government. Okay, what's the story? They've got a new government as of yesterday.
Yeah, they had an election, and Elon was sitting there pushing. He wanted to see the AFD, I think it is, the Conservative Party, get in, and they did not. And the very first statement out of the new German government is that Ukraine must win the war. And then Ursula von der Leyen here, she's trying to get billions more sent in weapons assistance sent to Ukraine. So the Europeans apparently want the war to continue, where Trump and Putin are trying to put a stop to it. So I think that's what's done the S&P and everything else so bad today, because they're nervous. Market's nervous.
Yeah, they're making everyone nervous because we've seen Zelensky at one point was talking about he's keen to end the war, and I mean, he wants a bit of peace. He's willing to look the other way. Apparently, Trump's trying to push for this whole thing, and now the Germans are coming. The Germans are stepping in, saying no, they mustn't end. So that would make sense that there is a little bit of pressure on the S&P at the moment. But you can see, fortunately, now there's a nice little bounce at the moment. You can see we're bouncing off some support on that S&P. So in terms of what we want to see for the S&P S&P today, and this is obviously going to lead with sentiment for Bitcoin as well. If the S&P keeps pushing higher, we should be okay in the crypto markets. But in terms of a daily close, let's get a close above $6,000 for the S&P. That would go a long way into helping the crypto market a little bit there, just from a sentiment perspective. And then with regards to support, 5,980, you can see we're reacting off our 0.5, we're reacting off our 100-day moving average. So anyone trading the S&P, 5,980, that is going to be your support low here if you are long at the moment. So keep it super simple here, but a great one to track for sentiment and things like that. Now, let's cover a couple of things. Michael Saylor, he bought some more BTC. Okay, it didn't really help the price today, but he did buy a little bit more. That's all over the headlines out there. So if you're wondering what's going on, the man doesn't stop. He's bought at what, 97,500 is his current price for that buy, 20,000 BTC. So he's laddered in. Okay, he's laddered in nicely. And then last week, if you guys were wondering what actually happened, or you want to recap now, we did touch on this on the show on Friday because it had just happened. But this is the news that came out. And this wrecked all the dreams. All the guys that were sitting in longs, myself included, we were sitting in great positions. Things were cooking. And then we had that proper $1.5 billion hack and big trouble at Bybit. So things started falling over. But now they seem to have solved their problem, and they've taken loans out from some other exchanges as well. They've blocked some of the money, and it seems like they are now back to normal and things are okay. Okay, subject to all the drama that has happened here. So a statement from Bybit saying a coordinated effort led to freezing $42 million in one day. $42 million in one day. They're working with a lot of these other projects as well. So it's nice to see the community stepping in and helping. And then we saw a nice summary from AIXBT. If you want to see how it was handled and everything by Bybit, you can see there's a nice little post here from AIXBT as to how they dealt with all of that stuff. But it turns out it was a North Korean hacking group, apparently, that got involved. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think they've ever recovered funds from the Lazarus group, from what I understand. And yeah, James is nodding his head. He's saying, so it doesn't seem to happen. Okay, but there is now a bounty out. I think it was what, $140 million. Yeah. There's never been a single recovery from this Lazarus group. And I also saw, because everyone's like, well, they're just going to stop it when they sell it. Apparently, there's a hack they did 6 years ago that they're still sitting on those funds. They know they have them, but they haven't dumped them yet. So they're in no rush to sell it. Apparently, they have lots of money because they just keep taking it. Yeah, well, it's the strategic reserve now. So yeah. They're just going to hold it. They're going to hold it strategically. Okay, so are they going to recover it? Probably not, but the community has stepped in. Things are looking a lot better there. And if you want to track it, you can just follow Bybit Official. They're telling you what is going on. But I think to their credit, it was handled really well. And I was saying last week, like, Bybit's a massive exchange and they're making tons of money. And, $1.5 billion is $1.5 billion, but I don't think that's going to stop their business. So anybody that was panicking, I think it was a little bit unreasonable with all the panic out there, and you'll probably find these things are okay. Then after that, there was another hack, okay, from another company, what neobank Infinity. They were hacked by for $50 million. So the pain is just not stopping at the moment. Another hack there in the market, but a little bit smaller news. But it's not great to see what is going down there with all the stuff. And then Elon Musk dropped a post again. He's obviously hungry to do a live stream of the Fort Knox building. And here's Trump talking about it again.
We're also going to Fort Knox. I'm going to go with Elon.
I mean, what a squad these two.
Would anybody like to join us? Because we want to see if the gold is still there. We want to see. Wouldn't that be terrible? We open up.
So there's going to be a live stream, or at least that's
I think so. They're going to live stream. Elon's going to go in with his chainsaw for democracy or whatever that crap was he was on stage with, and go in there. Okay. Yeah, proper reality TV.
It's going to be good. It's going to be entertaining. I mean, the people are going to be on the edge of their seats here. Are they going to have enough gold? Are they going to have more than they claimed they had? It's going to be exciting either way. And I think the markets are going to respond. It's going to be a very exciting time. Okay, so let's get into important things here. Let's talk Bitcoin on the daily. And in terms of levels and where we are with BTC on the daily, for anybody taking the slow route, which is the low leverage, the spot guys, those guys that are just relaxing, you really need to pay attention to the big big zones. And the big zones for me are currently 95K. So we want to close the daily above 95K, and our upside is 100K. So no changes there. We play ping pong in this range until proven otherwise. You can see it's under pressure, but it's been under pressure before and it has bounced up. So ideally, look for the candle close above there. If we do close above the daily, above that 95, I think this thing is going to start grinding higher, and we're going to get a little relief rally out of the market. If we close below, then I think we're going to be in a little bit of pain. I think these alts are going to really start feeling the brunt of it. And we're going to be looking at BTC 91K. That's going to be interesting. And then 88 is going to be another level that we're going to be watching. So we'll start with 91. We'll probably get a bounce out of that type of region. If not, 88 is going to be the next one. And then we'll deal with it when we need to, if we need to, during the course of the week. If they want to send us to 72K, we are ready. Okay, we are prepped and we are ready for those levels. We've been talking about these levels for months. And if they do, we'll just make sure we are ready. Okay, you can see a massive level down there, and we'll deal with it accordingly. But right now, all you guys need to watch is that 95K. Am I scaring you?
No, I've been practicing my fetal position, sucking my thumb. If that happens, you know, crying to mummy, I'm ready.
Just hang in there. Just hang in there. Well, be ready at 72K. Just be ready with the longs. Okay, let's go. So another thing causing pain for us today was dominance. So Friday, we looked at BTC dominance on the daily, and we got a nice rejection. You can see we rejected off our 618. We had a bit of a relief rally this weekend, and things looked a little bit better. Now we are pumping back. So dominance looking super bullish again on the daily for us. We printed a new high. And in terms of where this thing can reject now, or in terms of next levels, I would say, look, if we're lucky, it's 61.8. You can see take out these wicks here. But if things play according to the charts, we're probably looking at 62.2 as our next rejection zone. So that's going to put alts under tons of pressure as well on this dominance. So look for the next reaction, 62.2. Let's see if we get that type of reversal there. And 62.2% is probably going to push our total 3, which is our altcoin market, pretty deep, and it's probably going to take us to round about this 200-day moving average. So if you want to track the altcoins, remember, this is a nice one that you can follow. It's excluding Bitcoin and ETH, so it's all the other shit coins in the market. And you can see this thing is putting it under pressure now on our horizontals. So 850, we're in a bounce now or cut it off level. This is it. Bounce now or cut it off. And if we don't bounce now, we're looking at 780 to 790 billion is going to be the target. So that's that 200-day. And I suspect that happens with a big BTC push now, dominance push into the 62.2, maybe even a little bit higher. And we're going to see some pressure. And Zik.Dot says, please send us to 72. Yumi says, I need to order Rinse t-shirt now to prepare for 70. God, the t-shirts are coming. They're coming in hot. Okay, they're coming in hot for you guys. Okay, let's talk a couple of altcoins and things like that. Now, Ash Crypto says, rumor. He says big market makers are selling huge amounts of Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol to liquidate longs. Okay, that's interesting. Now, James was talking about Wintermute earlier. What are you hearing out there? What did we see?
Well, that's it. Because do you have something here from this Marty party as well?
I don't have Marty party in front of me, but I've got some of the cells from Binance.
Yeah, because that's it. He's been tracking specifically, and there's lots of people are tracking it now, but that's one account that I follow. And he's going through and tracking all this money that Binance keeps sending, and it's Sol, ETH, Bitcoin, and sending it to Wintermute. You know, and as we're going through these dumps, they're going, well, look, they're sending all this there, and they're selling off to make the dumps even worse. And he's saying this is crazy manipulation, pointing fingers and saying that they're doing this on purpose right now because they know they don't have much time left before new regulations come in the US that put a stop to all these foreign exchanges operating in the US, and that it's going to get more regulated and be safer for everyone. So that's his tinfoil hat theory, is that they're doing this on purpose to milk the last bit they can out before they're not allowed to anymore.
But they're just rinsing everybody out. And we saw they were doing this just the other day. This was like a week or two ago. They were doing this. So,
that's what I don't get. How do you keep rinsing everybody and expect people to still be here?
No, it's madness. It's absolute madness. So, this is Jacob Kim dropping that Binance is mass dumping ETH. Okay, never seen anything like this before. He says something big is coming very soon. I mean, obviously a pump. But in terms of the ETH chart, it's actually holding out pretty nicely, but they're dumping massive amounts of ETH at the moment. You can track what is going on here. And let's just take a look at the ETH chart. Let's see. I mean, in terms of the 5-day, this thing actually hasn't moved. And in terms of my strategy on ETH as to, you know, what I'm looking for here, we still in play. So in terms of buying ETH for me, that hasn't changed. I've got it at 2.6. We buying ETH. 2.5. We buying ETH. 2.4. We buying ETH. We're looking for this bearish divergence to finish playing out for us here on the 4-hour. And then once we get some kind of reversal, you know, hopefully that is going to be hopefully at this 2.5 level, and that's going to be our range low, tying in nicely there. And then maybe we can get a nice push back to range highs, and we'll see after that how things are going to play out. But in terms of my ETH strategy and my ETH plan, I'm looking for 2.4 obviously as the big one to hold. We know that's a high confluence zone there. We do have daily levels there as well. We've got our 618, so we're looking for a bounce there. If ETH does drip lower, you're probably going to find that altcoins are absolutely rinsed. If ETH goes from here to the lows, okay, I mean, that's literally a 21% move on ETH. You're going to see 40% moves on some altcoins, and it's going to be absolute filth out there. So it's not really something you want to see. And in terms of my strategy, 2.5, 2.4, those are my buy zones there. I'm trading it on 𝗬𝗥𝗡 at the moment, and you can see here are my ETH orders there. They're locked and loaded. I'm ready to buy. Okay, so they're sitting there waiting, just waiting for a wick or waiting for a dump here on 𝗬𝗥𝗡. And if we do pick that up, that's going to be nice. We'll just add to that position. Obviously 2.1 is going to put me under pressure. We're going to have to decide if we start losing that 2,100, how are we going to play that? But in terms of the strategy right now, no changes. Okay, so that is what I'm looking for. We do know that ETH on the 5-day is reversing, and that is looking a little bit better in terms of the oscillators there. We are looking for some kind of consolidation and then a push higher. So being patient on ETH, and again, all the big guys are buying it. Maybe we should be buying it, okay, when nobody is that interested. So let's talk SOL as well. We've got a problem here. So Bybit obviously selling tons of SOL. I think that makes sense. They were selling SOL maybe to buy ETH. I think there's a reason behind that one. And then Crypto Rover was posting Binance has been selling huge amounts of SOL as well, okay, in the last 4 hours through market maker 𝗬𝗢𝗏. And they know something, okay? So James, I mean, what do they know? That they're going to pump the shit out of it, or they're going to rinse everybody first? But guys, interesting stuff here.
That's it. I don't know if they're assuming that we're going down to these low levels, so they're dumping here because they know they can buy it back down lower, and they're counting on that, you know, whether it's 85 or 77 or 72 or whatever. I don't know. That's what I keep seeing people hinting at here, is that they know something. Well, it tells me they're manufacturing a dump to buy lower.
Well, yeah, they're just flushing out. They're flushing out all the longs. So let's take a look. Let's look at SOL versus ETH. So this was accelerated movement now. So if we look at our two big layer ones, it's Solana and ETH. I love to track that stuff. And I've put it on the weekly now because it's important. This thing has accelerated to the downside. So, you know, we've had tons of FUD now and things like that in the market. And you can see this thing is still looking super bearish on the weekly, but we are moving into an interesting zone. We are moving into our first bounce zone that I wanted to see, a big move here on SOL versus ETH. So is the pain about to end in terms of the weekly chart? Are we going to get a bounce now on SOL versus ETH? Is it time to start looking at SOL again after all this weakness? So we're super close now to a major weekly level. I mean, look at the amount of candles here sitting in this region. This is a big zone for us where we will be expecting some kind of bounce here on SOL versus ETH. And in terms of the SOL chart, well, this thing looks disgusting at the moment, and it's super bearish. So the deeper this thing goes, the uglier it's going to get, because if we do start pushing lower and then we get some kind of snapback bounce, we are still in massive bear country at 180, 185, 189. We're in huge bear country there, and that probably sends us a lot lower as well. So right now we've lost the rising trend. As you can see, we've accelerated down now with all the selling. You can see the headlines out there, the tweets, and there's a lot of like unorganic pressure there. They're really putting the market under pressure here on SOL, and I actually had to cut my SOL position. We started losing some key levels. So in terms of bounce zones for SOL and what we're looking for now, how do we play this thing? Like, what are we going to look for? So what I would expect now on SOL is a couple of bounces on the way down. So anybody trading this thing at the moment, you can see 147 is now your next zone. So you're going to track a big daily and weekly levels, you can see I've got some liquidity here. So 147, that makes sense to me as your first support zone that you're going to watch. So we could get some kind of bounce out of that region, and then it could be short-lived. They could drop us a little bit lower. Then we're looking at the 130s again. Then if we pump over there, you're going to look at resistance. Then you could get a situation where they're really sending us down to that 120s level. Now, we spoke about that quite a while ago, and I mean, we even covered that at 240 odd or 250 odd, and you know, that 120 always seems so far away. But what we know in crypto is never say never in crypto. And here we are. If you look at this chart, doesn't it now make sense? Okay, after this losing the trend, that we eventually make it down to this 120 zone. And look, we don't want to go much darker than that, but 120 for now looks like it's written in, and it's just a matter of time as to how this plays out. So in between, I'd expect moves out of Sol, and we're going to have moments where we have a week or so in a row where things are super bullish, things are pumping. But I'd say we need to be cautious with any massive pumps out of Sol, and we need to understand where we are in the context. And in the context of where Sol is now, we've lost a rising trend, we've lost some big levels, we've lost the 200-day moving average. So any pumps into that type of level there looks a little bit bearish for me, looks like a rejection zone later on. Okay, so guys, there you go. That is the raw information on Sol. The long and the short of it is 120 could be on the cards, possibly lower, but 120 is potentially on the cards now for us on Sol. Any pumps into 180, 190, those could be potentially bearish for us. Those could be rejection zones for Sol, unless fundamentally something in the market changes drastically and you know, they slow down on whatever their games they're playing at the moment. That is how I'm seeing it, and that is how I'm seeing it play out. And JB says he's selling his wife if we reach 120. Probably good value, because then you can buy her back with the profits. And you can imagine the handbags you can buy for her to get her back, bro. So it sounds like a good idea. Okay, let's go. 𝗬𝗧. I wanted to talk about this today because there was a potential move on 𝗬𝗧. Now it remains to be seen if we're going to get rinsed out here on this thing or not, but potential long for me on 𝗬𝗧 coming up. So 𝗓𝗢𝗏 says 𝗬𝗧, the leading bet for DeFi super cycle, if there is going to be one of the best flywheels, he says, outperformed Bitcoin in the past 12 months, 7x increase in revenue last year, 32 billion in net deposits. So he's a proper 𝗬𝗧 fan at the moment. And let's take a look here. And Yasha says, study 𝗬𝗧. The market cap of 𝗬𝗧 stablecoin 𝗬𝗢𝗚 surpassed the milestone of $200 million market cap this week. So stuff is going down on 𝗬𝗧 in spite of the price action and in spite of this thing falling over. So what I wanted to give you was a couple of options. So I've got a degen set up for you guys. Now, remember, in these types of market conditions, we're going to play what we see in front of us. But if you're playing degen and you're playing leverage stuff, okay, you need to be careful. So dial down the leverage, dial down the position size. Just promise me you're going to do that, okay? And then I'll supply you degen trades all day long, okay? And here it comes, a degen trade for you on 𝗬𝗧. And what we're looking at the moment, so you're going to find I've got a couple of charts that look like this today. And a lot of these alts have gone through this type of period, okay? So tons of chop along the way, and this tells us when we hit the lows, we potentially get trades back to the highs, and when we hit the highs, we potentially get trades back to the lows. So until that changes, or until we start losing those types of levels, you know, it's perfectly reasonable to try and look to trade a range. Why must we decide that this time is different every time? Imagine every time we said this time it's different, it's going down, and it pumped up. This time it's different, it's going down, but it pumps up. This time is different, it's going down, but it pumps up. Okay, so we can't be that guy, okay, that says this time is different. That means we really are guessing and we're not using the information in front of us. So using the information in front of us, what can we see? We can see a couple of things here. So 𝗬𝗧 on the 2 hour is dropping into our range low. That is dropping into a region of interest. It's dropping into a support band. And we also have a little bit of liquidity down to about 220. So that would give me room for some kind of stop hunt in that area. So what I'm looking for here on 𝗬𝗧 is even a little dip down into that 220 region makes sense to me for a possible move. Now, Bitcoin's obviously going to have to play ball. We're going to have to hold the lows, and we're going to have to see dominance start behaving. But in terms of a potential degen play here, there's a possible move for 𝗬𝗧 from this level, 227, 220, up to about 270. Could play out for us if things start working nicely. So looking for some kind of bounce here on 𝗬𝗧. And then I have highlighted on this chart for you guys, look out for the wick onto the 200-day MA. Now, we have seen many times that this 200-day MA reacts in certain zones. And look, last time we had a dump onto the 200-day MA, there was a big reaction. That's the 200-day moving average, okay? Simple moving average that I like to use. So look out. There is a possibility that they drop a wick onto that 212. That's a possible bounce zone there. And then in terms of the oscillators that I like to watch, we can see 2-hour printing divergence, printing reversals. So that is looking interesting, like we may get some kind of reversal there on the 2-hour. Let's take a look on lower time frames. Let's take a look on the 1. You can see that 1 hour has printed a reversal as well. So things are starting to look a little bit more attractive in terms of AAVE, and that 4 hour is nearly reset now. We're looking for our final dip here and then final reversal on that 4 hour. So that is what I'm watching. Just be patient with this region. 220 is ideal if we hold that. Look out for a wick into 212, and then if this plays out and we start getting some kind of momentum, you're probably going to see that you get a decent move out of this thing. Okay, so you'll probably get 17 at best. Maybe a push to 20% odd. But I would say once this thing turns green, start de-risking. You know the drill. Okay, don't get caught in a situation where you need to round trip. And PMG George says this time is different, because it is. George, yeah, I mean, does he have conviction for downside, or is he taking the piss here? I actually want to know if he really thinks we're going down. Wish we could look into Dill's crystal balls to see the future. Guys, I'm trying. But all I can use is the past, okay? I can only give you the past, and I can try and guesstimate with the tools what happens next, okay? And we're working on that. Okay, so there's an AAVE trade for you guys. Then let's look at this 𝗬𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪. What do we call this thing? Bearer chain. Okay, so this was the new shiny object that we saw the other day. And if we take a look at this thing on a raw 1 hour chart, you can see it's holding a little bit better than a lot of these other alts. So I thought, let's just take a look at this thing now, because there is a little bit of interest around this thing. And I thought, let's see where we are. So I know the guys do want to trade this, and I was a little bit reluctant to look at this recently because it was quite fresh. And I didn't want to start jumping in until we had some information. So at least we have a little bit of info now, and you can see the market makers are very nice. Look at them. They're letting you play with 618s. They're giving you levels there you can play with. Look at that. The market makers know a little 618 fib coming into play there for you guys. So in terms of this bearer chain, I'm watching it on the 1 hour. Let's look at a couple of targets for you, and let's look at a couple of support levels that we can tie in here. Let's just look at some VWAPs here quickly. Okay, so that's looking beautiful there to the upside. Let's see, look at some targets. Look at that banger. Okay, so 7.5 is a big danger zone there for me on this bearer chain. 7.5, probably get a reaction in that zone. So if we do push into that, just be careful up there today. And what I'm seeing immediately here is you can see something along those lines. So if we do push into that, there might be some kind of rejection, but we could look for some kind of inverse head and shoulders play. So just let this play out a little bit. 7.5, let's see what we get. That's our VWAP. We probably get a reaction there. Look at that. It acts as resistance in those zones. Let's see what we can get out of that one. And then in terms of support, well, you ideally want to focus on the lows. So that's 6.5. So in terms of a risk perspective, I wouldn't jump in on a degen basis here in terms of how far this thing is pumped already, because you're 7% to the low. So just be a little bit careful there. But in terms of a plan for this thing, I'd say if it pumps 7.5, look for that rejection in that zone. Then let's see if we can get an entry after that. So you can see right now it's pushing into a resistance band. Let's just highlight that. Okay, there you go. So that's your resistance band. So this would be a dangerous place to look for a long. If it does pop, you probably get the push to the upside and then some kind of reaction back to the downside, and that should give you some kind of support buy or some kind of entry there for you. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And we are living in Hope Street. Look, guys, a little bit of pumpage would be nice. Okay, Metis is ripping. Now that's interesting, Syed. It's funny. I mean, we're in this phase of the market. It reminds me of like August, September, October 2023, when everything was absolute dog shit and just ranging, and then randomly things like TRB were ripping, things like, what was it, BNX, a couple of others, they were just going mad, like randomly. And it feels like we are in a situation like that, and we really got to work hard for some of these alts. We really got to do some hunting. So, okay. Bearer chain, you've got it, guys. That's the plan here. And in terms of degen support, I'll give you degen support. Number one, 6.94. Number two, 6.68. Okay, 6.94, 6.68. Degen support zones that you guys can pay attention to if this thing does start popping. Remember, these charts go straight into chart hackers after the show. Okay, we'll be there. And Chris, I've got Ondo for you. It's still in the long zone. Okay, so hopefully that thing is still behaving itself. Then let's look at Ponky. This was one, I mean, I don't get it. Okay, maybe because there's no more sellers left. This thing is absolutely rinsed out on Ponky. Or maybe because there's no buyers. I mean, but this thing is absolutely rinsed. Okay, and Ponky, out of all the random tokens today, was actually holding a level. So if anybody is interested in Ponky, you can see it's finally dropped into a 618. We highlighted this one. I think we highlighted this on Friday on the show, James, potentially, or otherwise it was dropped in chart hackers at some point. But 0.134, that was pinged to the dollar here on Ponky, and you can see we are getting some kind of reversal now on the 2 hour. We're getting a bullish divergence print, so that is looking a little bit more interesting from that perspective on Ponky. So in terms of support, look, be careful here. Okay, you can see what happens to Ponky. They give you a pump and then they give you a dump. Okay, so that was a 60% move. They've retraced the whole thing. So if you are looking at this Ponky situation, 134, use that area as your support. If you close under that, probably a little bit bearish. It probably tells you you're going to lose the trend and things are getting a little bit ugly. Raf says likes are bearish today. Come on, guys. If you're enjoying the content, okay, hit the like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe. Okay, I'm here every single day. Market up, market down. I'm here. We're going to sort you guys out. And Nero, ETH is ripping. What is going on out there? So the ETH ecosystem and ETH tokens seem to be doing things. What is ETH doing right now? The ETH is flat. Okay, no surprises there. Okay. Bearer chain you got, okay? Bearer chain you got, you know what to do. Ponky, you've got, you know what to do there. Let's talk a couple of things. NVIDIA coming out this on Wednesday, and we know that there tends to be interest in AI tokens. Now, the market is slightly different to what it was when we've had our previous pumps on AI tokens and NVIDIA news. The market's in a really shit place. And if we look at things like GRT and Render and a lot of these tokens, they've just had a flat range for 3-4 weeks, and it's been really tough trading conditions unless you're trading small positions. Anyone looking for a big move has been getting chopped up in these things. So Lunar Crush Analytics says the AI crypto sector is showing accelerating social engagement across leading coins. Interesting. Okay, what do we got? Tao, number one. We've got Render. Okay, that's an interesting one there. And we've got Fetch. So I've decided to take a look at these guys and just see where we are. We haven't charted Render in a while. We haven't charted Fetch as well. And Tao, that's been super topical for us. And we've covered that one extensively. And I think we covered this one on Chart Hackers Private Zoom last night as well, looking for a couple of entries. And you can see we've just front run our first entry zone there. We were talking 400 to 390. And I think they hit us at 402. Okay, so I mean, if you missed that one by limit order, guys, we've missed it by $2. What we were looking there for, well, what we were looking for there was to pick up some buys in that zone. So in terms of Tao, we know there's a lot of bullish news around this thing. There's a lot of interest, and you can see in terms of this tweet, the guys are loving what is going on, especially out there in the interwebs, okay, all over Twitter and things like that. Yumi wants to know if we're sharting or we farting today. Are the boys farting in hackers today? Were they? Doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was just going to go look at the chart to see what's it doing. I haven't seen it, and I haven't seen Anna around trading it, so I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we'll have to check in. Okay, so guys, in terms of Tao, it's played ball, I would say, perfectly. Okay, in terms of a trend and things like that, in terms of moves, so far so good on this thing. So big support for me, 400 to 390. That hasn't changed. So if you are sitting in this position, that's a reasonable area. 400 to 390, that's a big zone. And then in terms of targets, well, we know that we've got major resistance ahead. We can see we've got a big problem ahead of us at the moment. We've got our 200-day problem zone number 1. We've got our 100-day problem zone number 2. I've got my quantum reactor, which is actually flipped bearish on the 12-hour here. So we've got work to do. But in terms of targets, if we can blow through this 490 region, then I think we really are going to start churning higher. Now, big levels here for me, 570. Look out for a rejection wick at that 570 zone. That's a problem for me. But in terms of things turning super bullish, if we blow through this anything from 460 to 480, if we blow through that region nicely, we're going to use that as support for new and fresh longs to the upside. Okay, so something to look forward to there on TAO at the moment, but a little bit of resistance in the way. Key support, guys, 390 to 400. Watch that area. You can see I've got VWAP action here as well in that region, so that is giving us some kind of support too. Don't tell me Lido is also ripping. Matwana, is it ripping, bro? Let's see. Shiba says, Dylan, legend. Love these pics today. Nice, bro. Thank you. And I love your profile picture. Nice. Is that the guy from Kramer? What is that in the profile picture there, James? What's going on there? Okay, let's go. Here's Render. So talking of AI, is this thing going to come from the dead and save us? So I looked at a couple of views here. One of them is a degen perspective on Render, and the other one is the higher time frame. And in terms of levels now for Render, you can see this thing's been absolutely abused. And to be fair, these tokens have all actually played out according to what we said. We got the dump. Then after the dump, you get that euphoria pump. Everyone thinks everything's okay, and then they slow bleed you out. And this is a typical altcoin example. If you look at all the general alts out there, you're going to see they've all been behaving like this, and taking a little bit of slow bleed and slow abuse here because there's lack of interest. So in terms of big levels for Render, what makes sense to me? So on the 3-day chart, and this is for any higher time frame, guys, on the 3-day chart, big level here, 3.65, and then the lows, 3.18. So 3.65 and 3.18. Those are going to be your emergency downside levels on a higher time frame. Now, in terms of Render on a degen perspective, okay, there's potentially a reversal coming now, okay? And this ties in with AAVE. This ties in with things like Fetch. This ties in with a lot of other tokens that you can potentially be looking at here. So in terms of Render, we did sweat out. What I was saying last night in Hackers was, let's look for a fake out and let's look for a stop hunt under these lows. So there is a possibility that this was our stop hunt we wanted. So we were looking for something along those lines, and we identified, here's our support, okay? And we can see this could be the stop hunt. If this is the stop hunt, we're probably going to see something like that for Render before the next rejection. So in terms of the oscillators, we are very close to printing a reversal. Okay, there's the 2-hour looking good there. Let's look at the 1 hour again just to see where we were. And you can see that 1 hour is printing divergences, that 1 hour is looking like it could reverse in this region as well. So potential Render long here. If you want to be long on Render, okay, what you can do is you can look for an exit under this low. Okay, so that low is 3.84. Look for an exit under 3.84. That is going to give you risk of, let's just highlight this risk here, 2.9% is what you're going to be looking at. Okay, so that's your reasonable risk, 2.9%. What is your potential upside? If that was the stop hunt we wanted, potential upside 9%, give or take. I wouldn't look for more than that. And that is what you're going to do. So look for the play out here. Look for the play out on the 2 hour. We just want to see that reversal. But I'd say in terms of a potential bounce, that makes sense, okay? And then in terms of the tokens bouncing on some of these areas, Chaos actually excused himself today. He couldn't be here. He likes to bring you indicators on a Monday. But about 10 minutes before I went live, he sent me a similar chart on BNB. And a lot of these things are dropping into levels here and showing lower time frame reversals. So there might be plays on a lot of tokens. Dennis, what's going on? Dennis got to be shitting me. He must be trading Fartcoin. Must be. Okay, so guys, there's about 2.5% risk if you want to try this. And that could be the stop hunt we were looking for. Let's see if this thing gives a strong push now. All you're going to do is just look for a higher low, and then you're going to look for that push to the upside. Okay, so keep your eyes on this Render. Could be something. Then in terms of another AI coin, Fetch. Now we see this Fetch is getting a little bit of engagement as well. 479,000 engagements. Okay, so there's a lot going on here in social media for these AI tokens, and Fetch on the weekly actually looks quite horrible. So if we have to be totally objective in terms of levels, where can Fetch go? 0.5. Okay, that's a big zone for me. Look at that massive area. I think at some point before the market bottoms, Fetch hits that 0.5. So how do we go there? It could be lots of up, down, but I think 0.5 is really where the market's going to bottom. And don't ask me why I'm using Fetch as the guide, but it does make perfect sense to me that on a massive level like that, you'll see an altcoin capitulation. And 0.5 does make sense for me on Fetch. And how big is that move? 30%. Okay, so you're probably going to find ETH at about 2.4, give or take in those types of regions, maybe a little bit lower, but 0.5, that looks super interesting to me. That's a massive weekly level. Now, in terms of short-term things, what do we do short-term? Are we allowed to look for trades? Yes, let's look for some short-term degen setups on Fetch with NVIDIA news around the corner. Maybe there's something here for us to work on. Now, today is obviously a very special day out there because the market is choppy and it's rinsing people. So I remind you again, play safe. Okay, but in terms of reversals, just like that render chart, it looks similar. Look at this. I mean, where have you seen this before? We've got these alts in a super tight range. You can see your range high was the pump, the euphoria pump after the super bearish dump. And now we just range in the tight little range here. And you can see, you can almost call this mid-range at the moment. So what happens next? So we could say every time we've hit the range lows here, we've had some kind of bounce. If we want to use the same principle again, let's look for the bounce on Fetch. So for me, 0.70 makes sense. Possibly a stop hunt. I just want to highlight this candle for you. Look for a wick down into 0.687. So watch 0.687, just like you saw on render. That could play out as well. And then in terms of the oscillators, possible 2-hour reversal. You'll probably find divergence getting printed there. Let's look on the 1 hour. There's your reversal on the 1 hour, looking like it wants to do something. Let's look at lower time frames. And yeah, that lower time frame started, but it's not looking super bullish. So you might just see a little reversal there before there is a move. So in terms of Fetch, it looks very similar to render. It looks very similar to a lot of other tokens. So your invalidation is pretty clear on these things. It will be a close under these types of levels. So 0.687, if you close under that thing, possibly a little bit more bearish. You know, you're possibly looking to send this much lower, and then your wick low is going to be at 59. So that's going to be your next level. So if it doesn't bounce here at this mid-range type of level, you probably are going to get some kind of bounce play from these lows, and you know, we'll deal with it when we get there. Hopefully it doesn't happen in one straight line in an hour or something, but you know, we'll get some kind of move there. We'll probably get a 15% give or take off those lows. Okay, so look out for that. These charts will be in Chart Hackers directly after the show for you guys. Now let's catch up on SUI. I've got some SUI action for you. Also looking like it's nearing the bottom of the range, looking like it's almost time for some kind of bounce, and you're going to see these setups are almost identical on these alts. If they are going to hold these range lows, we are moving into areas where they need to bounce. So SUI 2.96. No changes here. We might get some kind of reversal pretty soon on the 4 hour. That's going to be super helpful for us. So in terms of potential longs now for SUI, look for a dip into 2.96. We are pretty close, I would say, to this type of move. So look for that. And look out for the wick into 2.86. So we've mapped this thing out just like we've mapped out render and Fetch. Also makes sense to me. And then look out for a wick onto that 200-day MA. I want to highlight this for you, the 200-day moving average. Where have you seen that? I've just shown you on a previous chart. So 2.8 makes sense to me on that 200-day MA. Now, where did we pick up that other 200-day? There it is on AAVE. Okay, so they all look the same at the moment. Isn't it uncanny that these things all look the same? And let's see. Pro Boy Shahir says Bitcoin is going along to 200,000. 20,000 or 200,000?
I think it's 200. Yeah, there was a rocket ship there, not straight to hell. You see this IP though? This thing's up 13% in the last 15 minutes.
This is the story and bearer chain. They seem to pump at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at this bearer quickly. Let's see. Yeah, there's a little bit of action here, guys. So in terms of the breakout candle, remember what I like to say. If you're playing breakouts, put your stop under the breakout candle. Look for a close under the breakout candle. If that breakout candle fails, well, you're most likely coming back to the lows. So if you want to play the risky game of playing breakouts, there's a breakout. Okay, your stop can be a close under 6.93. Look for that. If it closes under there, you're probably coming down. Okay, so that could give you a nice little degen scalp move to that 7.5. So watch that area. Okay, let's go. I want to cover Ondo and Farts quickly as well, and let's link with one of them too. So is there something coming for us on Link? And I've looked at this the same way that I've looked at Fetch as well. If we have to be brutally honest with ourselves, 14.7 looks like where Link wants to be eventually. How does it get there? It could be a bit of up down first, but 14.7 looks like a realistic area for us on Link. And in terms of the lower time frame chart for Link, let's see. This is it. We're at the the absolute bottom of my exit zone. Okay, so this was a long that I looked at yesterday, and we are now sitting on our 200-day MA. Where have you seen that? AAVE. Where have you seen that? Render. Where have you seen that? Fetch. We are now at that 200-day moving average. So in terms of an exit plan, you can see Link has dropped. We're sitting on the 200-day MA. Is this our exit zone? So 16, close under 16 would be a possible exit play. And then I'd say look out for this visit to the wick lows on Link, and then one of these should give you a bounce. So if it doesn't bounce right here where it is, okay, then you're probably going to get some kind of reaction off 15.4. Then once that move is finished, you might get a little bit of that. Once that move is done, then we're looking at Link down here, 14.7. So I just want to highlight that there for you guys, that 14.7 is a realistic level here for Link. And once we go there, well, you know, then we start opening other areas. But we don't have to talk about that now. I don't want to ruin your Monday. And then here's Ondo for you guys. So this is in the zone now. Anybody that looked at Ondo last week with me, this is it. 200-day MA, where have you seen that? On half the tokens I've shown you today. And we are going into that phase now. If we start closing the daily candles under the 200-day MA, it's potentially pretty bearish for us. So it's not quite, it's not really the look we want as altcoin traders, but we're going to deal with that. But what we do know is if we close under the 200-day MA, any dips there, any pumps into that is going to give us a short zone. It's going to give us short entries for later on. So remember, I like to find shorts when the market is green. I like to get longs when the market is red. Okay, so that is generally my combination. And right now the market is red, so we're looking for bounces. But the next time the market turns super green and we're pumping, we're most likely going to be looking for short. So in terms of Ondo, this is your entry zone. If it closes under 1.03, even closes under 1, then you're probably hunting 0.9. So that's about a 10% dip. So remember, if you're trading leverage, it's a big move to the downside. So don't sit in a trap on 20x leverage on trying to ride Ondo down to 90 cents. It's not going to be fun. You're going to be up at 3 in the morning looking at your phone panicking. So avoid those situations. 1.03, I'd love to see that hold for Ondo. If it doesn't, we close lower. 0.9 looks like an area of interest for us on Ondo. Okay, so there you go. There's your Ondo levels, and short-term support 1.03. Guys, you can see it's in the zone that I gave you. That was the bounce zone for us on Ondo. Let's see if that is going to hold. Now let's see if I've got one more for you guys here. 𝗧. Okay, so 𝗧 is actually a good one that we want to pay attention to. So a couple of things going on with 𝗧. We spoke about this one last week, and it was looking pretty bullish, and it was putting pressure on the zone. And I would say, in terms of, 𝗧, but in terms of what 𝗧 is doing now, this is exactly what we wanted. So this is 𝗧 on the daily, and now it's putting pressure under the horizontal. So this is typically what you want to look for now for some kind of pop and push higher up. So let's dial into 𝗧 quickly and try and break this down for you guys. So you can see in terms of a smaller trend here on 𝗧, you can see there is a little bit of chop here, but we could be getting something that is going to give us our ticket into our next region. Now, what is our next region? Our next region could be a move of 18% on 𝗧. So we need to try and catch that breakout and trade this thing up to another 20%. So how do we do that? And what can we watch? So in terms of levels, let's just clean this up. Let's get our 1 hour. Let's not go full degen here. We'll get the 1 hour out. Okay, so let's take a look at this. You can see I've got VWAP support here. Okay, let's look at our 2. Okay, so a lot of these lower time frames aren't looking super bullish. Okay, so that's not a good look for us, but we can see consolidation under this resistance. So that does give us an opportunity. If there is going to be another push in the market, 𝗧 might blow through that. So we want to just try and time this thing correctly. Let's look at the 8. Okay, also still a little bit bearish here, guys. So I'm actually inclined to say that this thing might be leaning towards the downside, actually. So let's look at 4s quickly. Let's see if we can build some kind of breakout play here for you. So in terms of the target, when we looked at this last week, we could see this was our first rejection zone. So I'd say, to be fair, it's rejected in that area. So if you TP to that zone, that was 100% correct what you're doing. Now we can see this thing is sitting at resistance. Where can this thing go to next? If it pops and you get some kind of breakout, your target is going to be this 326 region, and then possibly a little bit higher at the 3-4 region is what you're going to be watching. In terms of a degen setup now, you might have to go 1 hour here. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, what you can do. Ooh, no. Yeah, guys, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. James, what do you think about this say? I don't know.
I mean, if Sui is strong, it's going to move with it, right? They typically move together, but yeah, it looks like it needs to come down.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Guys, I want to give you something. I want to give you something here for say, but I'm just nervous. Okay, so what I would say here, watch these horizontals, okay? Watch this area, okay? 0.29. Watch that. If you get some kind of push on say, if say sticks its head out here, then you can play this breakout move. Okay, so what you want to see, you want to clear the 0.29, let it play out first. Okay, let's not preempt something here and start buying under resistance. That can get us into a little bit of shit. Okay, so let's this thing pop first. Let's see if we can use 29 as support. If you can see that happening and you get that breakout candle, then start using your breakout candle as your support level. But until then, guys, I think wait. Okay, I don't like the look of that. That can literally be a bot and they can send it straight down to the downside. So just be careful, let it break this 29 level, then we can get something. Okay, so in terms of movers, let's see. Okay, so render, guys, that's on the watch list today. We're looking for a bounce. Ponky looking for a bounce. Bera could give you a bounce there. AAVE locked in there. Let's see if we get that move out of that one. And then, guys, just be careful. Okay, it's very rough out there. So we're dialing down the leverage again. We're slowing down. Let's get some momentum back in the market. Let's get some good sentiment out there and let people like crypto again. Then we're going to long the shit out of everything. But until then, let's take it easy.
Do you still have fart there for us?
Fart, I can do. I can do farts. I can do farts. Let's see. The fart. Okay, so let's see what we got out of this thing. Now, this is also brutal. Let's wipe this chart here. Let's take a look at this thing. Okay. Support, you can see that big support band there for you guys. This is the 2 hour that we're tracking now on Fartcoin, and just based on this, you can see we are tracking lower. We're looking for a reversal. What happens typically on Fart when you get like that, the reversal push? You can see we got divergence there. That was a nice indicator there for us when we got that reversal. So ideally, you want to look for prints. You want to see these prints here, the blue dot. You want to see the green prints. Those types of reversals. Those are going to give you the best move in terms of where they can send Fartcoin. It makes the most sense to me. 0.287. That really makes the most sense to me. 286 as well. So you can see we're in a descending trend here. And when I think we get a move is when we dip into those types of levels there. So in terms of Fart, go 286 down to 28. Watch that area there. By then, you probably have your reversal on the 2 hour. And Adam, you want me to pull your finger there, bro? By then, you're going to have the reversal. And then we should be okay. And then you, in terms of targets, you're going to keep it simple, guys. Remember, these things are small position, big move plays. If you're trading farts with your friends, small position, big move. Okay, you don't have to look. You don't have to look for too much on these things. If you do dip into that type of zone, you're going to target, say, 35. That's going to be pretty much the max that you want to go. It's a 20% move. And remember, these things happen super quickly. So just be patient with it. Let it come to you. You nibble in this area, nibble here, nibble, nibble, nibble. And then before you know it, you get a reversal and you get a little bit of pump. Okay, so guys, take it easy out there. Okay, you know the drill. These guys are selling Sol like it's nothing. They're selling ETH. It's messy. There's outside forces, and you know what? Let's not force the market. Let's play with what we have. Dial down the leverage, small position, big move, keep it safe, okay? And then we're back tomorrow. Let's see what they give us. And what's that post there? What's that comment there? No, bro. Come on. PM George. No, bro. Come. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Okay, guys, I'm back tomorrow. See you later. Good luck. Good luck.